As you can most likely tell, what you're currently looking at is a map of the Middle East. Now, there are a couple oddities on this map that I hope you've seen by now. One is that straight line just heading right through the Middle East, and then two is this set of coordinates to who knows where. Let me give you a bit of context of what these two things actually are. Those coordinates that you're seeing are the geographical center of the Middle East. And all that line that you're seeing is just the Tropic of Cancer.
What some of you may be wondering is, why is this northern part of Africa included? Well, the reason is nobody can decide what the Middle East area is exactly. There's a lot of variation due to political and religious reasons. Why North Africa has become part of the Middle East is because of religious reasons and the population. A lot of Muslim men and women live in Northern Africa, and so it's been kind of inducted into the Middle East, if you will. So, the first region we're going to be talking about is the Northern Tier region, which consists of Turkey and Iran.
So basically, the Northern Tier area is a very rocky and mountainous area, and it's heavily populated.
So, the next region that we're going to be talking about is the Arabian Peninsula, which consists of Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Oman, and Yemen.
The Arabian Peninsula is the world's largest peninsula, and it holds these vast reserves of oil and natural gas, and it has a low population, yet a high birth rate and immigration, meaning you could speculate one day, because it holds such a needed and depended on resource for the entire Middle East, that it'll probably have a higher population within time.
Next up, we have the Nile River Valley. Now this only consists of Egypt and Sudan, as you can see, because of the Nile River running through them.
And it's subject to yearly flooding, which enriches the soil and it washes away a lot of waste. And the Nile River itself is a huge part of Egyptian culture and part of its history and mythology.
We have the Fertile Crescent. Now the Fertile Crescent consists of Israel, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Jordan, and Kuwait. The Fertile Crescent has the nickname of the Cradle of Civilization due to its being very moist, and it's great for farming due to its fertile lands. This is where the land of Mesopotamia used to be, if you've ever read the Epic of Gilgamesh. Okay, so the area of Maghreb is a small part, well not really small, but it's up here, northern Africa. It consists of Libya, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, and the Western Sahara. Now it's time to move on to place. So let's start with some popular foods that the Middle East has invented. A couple of these include pita bread, hummus, and falafels. Okay, so music in the Middle East is completely different than music here. On one hand, we have this. And then on the other hand, we have this. Then we have this. And then we have this.
So, the Middle East is a very heavily Islamic area, although depending on where you go, you'll find different religions. For example, if you go to Israel, even though it's a huge part of the Middle East, you'll find that the population is mostly Jewish.
So religion and holidays are very heavily tied in the Middle East. Most of the holidays are religious holidays, such as Mawlid, Muhammad's birthday. And there are many others. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but that's just an example.
Some distinct animals that you can find in the Middle East are the Arabian oryx, camels, and the leopard gecko.
Well, the Middle East has a few different landforms that you'll find throughout, such as mountains, like the Elburz Mountains up here, or rivers, such as the Nile River that runs through here. Or there's also sand dunes that exist mostly in the deserts right around here in Saudi Arabia.
Unique Middle Eastern plants include the apple of Saddam, the Salvia dominica, otherwise known as the Dominica sage, which, interesting enough, could have been the origin of the design of the menorah. Another unique plant from the Middle East could be the Oxalis per caprice.
Now let's talk a little bit about how people in the Middle East move around and get from place to place. It's mostly the same as Western countries such as the United States, but they mostly have a larger focus on buses. And in rural areas, they even use camels and animals to get around.
So, ideas and information are moved throughout the Middle East using the internet. The internet. Social networking and television, surprisingly, in the Middle East, even though some people do not think that the Middle East is that technologically advanced. They are.
Now let's start talking about how they interact with their environment in the Middle East by modifying, adapting, or depending on it. We should probably start with how they've modified the environment. Now, one of the ways that they have is aquifers for water because it's a very dry area. They also build their skyscrapers down 40 feet into bedrock to make sure that sand doesn't topple them over.
So, some ways that the Middle East has adapted are all pretty much ways to beat their climate. You see, it's very hot there, obviously, so they have air conditioners everywhere. So, a lot of people think that the Middle East is very low-grade technology, but they have air conditioners, and they are everywhere. They use lighter clothing as well as fewer undergarments, and they have an abundance of water fountains, strewn throughout everywhere to prevent dehydration, which would obviously be a huge problem since they live in the desert and it's very hot.
Of course, like any civilization, there are resources that the Middle East depends on. One of the most important resources that the Middle East depends on is oil, both as a resource of money and a resource for transportation. As another resource that they depend on, animals both transport them place to place and serve a purpose of food for them. Extremely important resource into this area is water, especially due to the fact that it's in such high demand due to the current drought. Hey, thanks for watching. That's about it for now. Stick around for the bloopers. I think they're pretty good.